I've never been the kind of guy who expects the world to stop spinning just for me. Life's been good enough. Steady job as a construction supervisor, decent house, a family that gets by. But turning 40, that felt different somehow. For weeks leading up to my birthday, Brielle kept dropping these little hints, her voice all playful and mysterious. Just wait, Julian. Something big is coming. I'd catch her smiling at me over breakfast, her brown eyes sparkling like she was hiding a secret she couldn't wait to spill. Skylar, my 19-year-old daughter, would nudge me at the dinner table and ask weird questions like, Dad, what's your favorite cake flavor? Maddox, my 21-year-old son, even checked my work schedule, asking what days I'd be off. That should have been my first red flag. Maddox never cared about my schedule unless he needed something. My hours are long. Construction doesn't wait for anyone. But I started thinking maybe they were planning something special. A surprise party, maybe a nice dinner out. I didn't need much, just a little sign they cared. I let myself hope, you know? I let that tiny spark grow in my chest, warming me during those long days on the job site. As my birthday got closer, I'd come home tired and dusty, my back aching from 10-hour days, picturing balloons or a happy birthday banner taped to the living room wall. Maybe the smell of Brielle's famous lasagna filling the house. She hadn't made it in months, always too busy with her book club or spa days with her mother. Or Skylar's laugh echoing from the kitchen where she'd be frosting a homemade cake, flour probably dusting her cheeks like when she was little. The anticipation became part of my daily routine. I'd shower off the construction dust and check my reflection in the bathroom mirror, wondering if I looked older, if 40 showed in the lines around my eyes or the gray creeping into my beard. Brielle used to say I was aging like fine wine. Now she barely looked up from her phone when I walked through the door. So on the big day, March 29th, 2025, I pulled my truck into the driveway, heart beating a little faster than usual. It had been a brutal day. We'd had issues with a concrete pour that kept me on site 2 hours past quitting time. But I didn't mind. Today was supposed to be special. The sun was dipping low, painting the sky orange and purple, and I sat there for a second, gripping the steering wheel, telling myself not to get too excited. I could see our neighbor Mrs. Peterson watering her garden, and she waved. I waved back, thinking how nice it would be to tell her about whatever surprise my family had planned. I grabbed my lunchbox and hard hat from the passenger seat, stepped out, gravel crunching under my work boots as I walked up to the front door. My hands were shaking slightly as I fumbled with my keys. Excitement, I told myself, not nerves. I turned the key, pushed it open, and nothing. The house was dark, silent, completely empty. No warm smell of food hit me, no laughter or footsteps rushing to greet me, no chorus of surprise that I'd been imagining all day. The living room stretched out in front of me, bare as a bone. No decorations, no candles, no nothing. Just the same old furniture we'd had for years, looking somehow sadder in the dim light filtering through the blinds. I flicked on the light, half expecting someone to jump out from behind the couch and yell, "Surprise!" But the switch just buzzed, and the bulb hummed to life, showing me the cold, unchanging truth. The house looked exactly like it did every other day. Lived in but not celebrated, functional but not festive. The couch sat there, same as always, still bearing the indent from where Maddox had fallen asleep watching Netflix last weekend. The TV was off, the kitchen counter was spotless, too spotless, like someone had cleaned up specifically to leave no trace behind. No cake, no plates, no mess of a party being prepped. No stack of presents on the dining room table, no cards propped up on the mantel. I dropped my lunchbox and hard hat on the table, the thud echoing in the quiet like a gunshot, and stood there staring at the empty space where my family should have been. The silence was deafening. No hum of conversation from upstairs, no TV murmuring in the background, no dishwasher running. Nothing. My phone stayed silent in my pocket. No texts, no calls, no, "Hey, we're running late." I walked through the house, my work boots leaving faint dirt marks on the hardwood. Upstairs, the beds were made. Skylar's room smelled like her lavender spray, but her backpack was gone. Maddox's sneakers weren't by the door. Brielle's purse, the one she always leaves on the hall table, wasn't there. I checked the garage. Her car was missing. My stomach twisted, heavy and sour, like I'd swallowed a rock. I told myself maybe they were out getting something last minute, that they'd pull in any second with headlights flashing, full of apologies and excuses. I sat on the couch, still in my dusty jacket, and waited. 5 minutes turned into 10. 10 turned into 30. The clock on the wall ticked louder than it ever had before, each second slicing into that dumb hope I'd been carrying. I leaned back, rubbed my face, and felt the weight of 40 years settle on me. Not the milestone I'd imagined, but something else, something cold and empty. I grabbed a beer from the fridge, popped it open, and took a long sip, the bitter taste matching the ache spreading in my chest. They weren't coming. I knew it then, deep down, even if I didn't want to admit it. I'd spent weeks building up this moment in my head, picturing their faces, their voices, some kind of celebration to mark me hitting the big 4-0. But the house stayed quiet, and that silence told me everything I needed to know. 3 hours after I sat down on that couch, the beer was warm in my hand and the house was still as empty as a ghost town. I'd been staring at the wall, trying to figure out what I did wrong, why nobody bothered to even call. Had I been working too much? Missing too many family dinners because of overtime? Was I really that forgettable, that easy to overlook? My phone sat on the coffee table, screen black, mocking me with its silence. No missed calls, no text messages, nothing. The rational part of my brain tried to make excuses. Maybe they were stuck in traffic. Maybe someone had an emergency. Maybe they were at the store buying last-minute supplies and their phones died. But deep down, I knew better. This felt intentional, planned, like they'd made a conscious decision to be somewhere else. I grabbed my phone again, more out of habit than hope, and opened Instagram. I don't usually scroll much. Too many ads and fake smiles, too many people pretending their lives are perfect. But something told me to look. Some sick curiosity that I should have ignored. And there it was, staring me in the face like a punch to the gut, worse than anything I could have imagined. A photo of Brielle, Skylar, Maddox, and her parents, Greg and Rochelle, all grinning on a pristine beach somewhere tropical. White sand stretched out behind them like something from a travel magazine. Crystal blue waves crashing in, the sun setting. All golden and perfect. Brielle had a cocktail in her hand, something pink with a little umbrella. Her sunglasses pushed up on her head, laughing like she didn't have a care in the world. She was wearing a new dress I'd never seen, probably bought with that credit card I didn't know about. Skylar was splashing in the water, her hair wet and wild, looking happier than I'd seen her in months. Maddox stood there shirtless, holding a beer, smirking at the camera with that cocky expression he gets when he thinks he's gotten away with something. Greg and Rochelle were lounging in chairs that probably cost more than I make in a week, looking smug as ever, like they own the world. The caption under Maddox's post hit me like a brick. He won't even notice we're gone. LOL. I read it again, then a third time, just to make sure I wasn't seeing things. My own son wrote that. My family, my whole damn family, was at some fancy resort living it up while I sat here in the dark, and they thought it was funny. I scrolled through more posts. Skylar had a story up of her sipping a drink with a little umbrella, tagging some place called Paradise Cove Resort. Brielle posted a selfie captioned, "Family time is the best time. Family time without me." I dropped the phone like it burned me and stood up, legs shaky, chest tight like someone was squeezing it. I walked to the kitchen, grabbed the bottle of whiskey from the cabinet, the good stuff Brielle got me for Christmas, and poured a glass. No ice, no mixer, just straight. I took a big gulp, the burn sliding down my throat, and leaned against the counter. They didn't forget. That's what got me. This wasn't some accident, some last-minute thing where they meant to call but didn't. They planned this. They packed bags, got on a plane, and left me behind, laughing about it like I was some joke. The next morning, I started digging. I pulled up our joint bank account online. I'm the one who usually handles the bills, keeps the numbers straight. My stomach dropped when I saw it. A $3,800 withdrawal dated 3 days ago. Cash, not a card swipe. Sneaky, like they didn't want a trail. I'd given Maddox the same amount last month for a deposit on his new apartment. He'd hugged me, said, "Thanks, Dad, you're the best." Now it looked like that money funded their little getaway. Then I remembered Brielle's emergency credit card, the one she kept statements for in a drawer in our bedroom, tucked under old tax files like I'd never bothered to check. I ripped open the latest statement. $92,000 total over a year. $1,200 at a spa, $800 at some fancy clothing store, $450 for lunch with Rochelle. The latest charges showed $4,500 at Paradise Cove Resort. This wasn't just a birthday snub. This was a whole secret life, funded by my overtime hours and weekend work. 2 days later, my phone exploded with messages. 49 total, piling up over a few hours. Brielle. Julian, where are you? Like I was the one who disappeared. Skylar. Dad, are you okay? Please answer. Maddox. Yo, Dad, what's up? You good? Voice notes too. Skylar's voice soft and shaky, saying she was worried. Brielle sent a longer one. Julian, please don't shut me out. We're flying back early. Talk to me. I sat there staring at the screen, part of me wanting to feel relief or anger, but I didn't. It was too late for that. Instead, I got an idea. I grabbed my phone, found a picture from yesterday, me holding a cheap chocolate cake from the grocery store bakery section. It was small, kind of sad-looking, with "Happy Birthday" scribbled in messy icing. I'd taken it in the kitchen under fluorescent light, no smile, just me and the cake. I uploaded it with no filter, no caption, just the timestamp. March 28th, 2025, 7:42 p.m. It wasn't about being petty. It was a marker, a quiet flag saying, I'm still here, I see you, and I'm not the one who's missing. 3 days after my birthday, they showed up at my door. Brielle in front holding a shiny gift bag, her smile tight and fake. Skylar and Maddox hung back, Skylar picking at her nails, Maddox staring at his shoes. Greg and Rochelle stood there like they owned the place, Greg's arms crossed, Rochelle's lips pursed. I didn't say a word, just leaned against the doorframe and pulled out my phone, showing them Maddox's post. The air changed like someone sucked the oxygen out. Brielle's smile dropped. I looked straight at Greg and said, You're not welcome here. My voice was calm, but it cut through the tension like a blade. I stepped aside, holding the door open just enough for the others. You three can come in. They can't. Inside, I dropped a folder full of evidence on the kitchen table. Bank statements, screenshots, credit card charges. When did I become invisible to you? I asked, my voice steady but hitting them hard. Brielle claimed it wasn't her idea, that she didn't know how to say no to her dad. Skylar was crying, saying it was supposed to include me too, but Grandpa said I'd bring down the vibe and it'd be more fun without me. The words landed like a hammer. You didn't know how to say no to your dad, but you knew how to say no to me, I replied, flipping the folder shut with a snap. The next morning I made changes. I opened a new bank account in just my name, transferred half our savings, canceled the joint credit card, and set up direct payment for Skylar's tuition. I changed the locks, heavy deadbolts that meant business. When Brielle came downstairs, I told her, You're in the guest room from now on. Separate accounts. You pay half the bills. I changed the Wi-Fi password to Julian40 and reset everything. This wasn't revenge. It was survival, drawing boundaries carved in stone. A week later, Greg showed up in my driveway, his face red with anger. What the hell do you think you're doing? Locking my daughter out, cutting her off. You're destroying this family? I didn't flinch. Destroying it? Funny. I thought that started when you took them all to a resort and left me behind. He waved dismissively. That was a trip, a break. You're blowing this out of proportion. I stepped forward. How much did it cost, Greg, that little break? He shrugged. About $7,500. What's that got to do with anything? I nodded. I put $25,000 into Skylar's education last year. What have you done for her future? His mouth opened and shut. You don't get to lecture me about family. You decided I wasn't worth bringing along, and now you're mad I'm not rolling over for it. But something was shifting with my kids. Maddox called needing rent money, $600 short. I helped him, but we did it right. We sat at the kitchen table, went through his bills, his pay stubs, everything. I showed him how I'd always budgeted for the house, tracking every dollar. You plan ahead, you don't get stuck, I told him. I gave him the money, but made him write it down as a loan. You owe me. Not because I'm mad, just so you learn. He looked at me then, really looked, and said, I get it, Dad. That night, his Instagram post disappeared. No profile, just blank space where that caption used to be. He asked if he could come by Sundays, and I said yeah, feeling something shift between us. Skylar kept visiting too, more regularly now. She'd sit with me watching old movies or help in the garage, handing me tools. One night, she hugged me tight before leaving, whispering, I'm glad you're my dad. It hit me hard, that crack of light in all the darkness. Brielle was still a puzzle. Some days she'd try nostalgia, talking about when we met. Other days she'd blame me, saying I'd pushed her away. I didn't bite either way. You pushed first, I'd say, and she'd go quiet. Maddox's Sundays became routine, him showing up with coffee, us working on his budget, or just talking. He didn't say much about the trip, but I could tell he was carrying guilt. Skylar stayed loyal, posting pictures of us with captions like, "Best dad ever." A month after my 40th birthday, I woke up to a quiet house that didn't feel empty anymore, just still. I sat up on the couch where I'd fallen asleep, and my phone buzzed with an email from my divorce lawyer. Short and simple, Brielle's attorney had reached out. No fight, no drama, just paperwork moving forward. I didn't feel sad. I felt clear, like I could see myself again. Not just the guy who paid bills or fixed things, but me. Julian Hartley, a man who'd made it through the mess. I walked outside and sat on the porch steps. The neighborhood buzzed around me, alive and normal, and I felt part of it again. Not stuck, not invisible. I changed my Facebook status to "It's complicated" and thought about that night a month ago. The dark house, the whiskey, the Instagram post that started it all. It felt far away now, like it happened to someone else. 40 wasn't what I'd expected. No party, no big celebration. But it gave me something better: clarity. I could see myself now, not as the guy they forgot, but as the one who stood up and claimed his place. The divorce wasn't a loss. It was a door closing so another could open. Being seen by my kids, my friends, and most importantly, by myself, that was the gift I'd claimed. And that was enough.